The South Pole is a beautiful and terrifying place. It exists at the very ends of the earth, forgotten by the sun. All you can see in the Antarctic is the never-ending white landscape of snow, and all you can hear is the howling wind and the constant cracking of the sea ice as it shifts and moves, almost as if an ancient and terrifying frozen beast lived beneath it and was writhing about, trying to dislodge the frozen mortals from its back. Essentially, what I'm saying is the Antarctic is well cold out there. Chilly Wilbur. Welcome to the world of histrionics. Incredible tales from before the now. In the early years of the 20th century, the great heroic Antarctic expeditions had begun. Explorers like Scott and Amundsen had already made a name for themselves, but I, Ernest Shackleton, known to my crews as the Boss, had different ideas. We would construct a special ship called the Endurance and sail with 27 men through the pack ice of the Weddell Sea, and when we got to the land, we would get off and walk across the land, being the first people to reach the South Pole by doing so. By January 1915, we encountered a problem. You see, at that time of year, in the southern hemisphere where the Antarctic is, it's supposed to be the summer. It's still the Antarctic, it's not a beach party, but it wasn't supposed to be as cold as it was. The ice was too thick. We were seeing record low temperatures. We were trapped. Our ship was stuck. There was only one thing to do. And when one of my Irish crew members heard all about my plan, he said, "You know, if it had been anyone else but you, boss, I would not believe we could do it. But I'll give it a go, crazy as it sounds." What was it? What was Tom Crean talking about? I shall tell you. My great plan was to free the boat by getting out and giving it a push. So we did. 27 men got shovels and spades and cleared the way. They pushed the boat back, and then myself and Captain Wild steered the boat, pushing it forward into the gap and sailing through the sea ice. Now, when I say sea ice to you, I'm talking about the Antarctic. That ice is not just like on a pond. It is, in places, 15 feet thick. Now, I don't know while you're watching this, probably at home in your lounge or living room or dining room. Have a look at how tall your room is, from the floor to the ceiling. 8, 10 feet, maybe 12, possibly 15 if you live in a very old house. Imagine having to sail through sea ice that is as thick as your rooms at home are tall. Incredible. And it nearly worked. We nearly made it. But the ice became too thick, around 400 yards short of open water. And now we really were stuck. There's nowhere to go. Tom Crean asked me, "All right then, Bath, what's your plan now?" Yes, well, I do have a plan, actually, Tom. Yes. The plan will be to wait. To wait right here in the ice till next summer. Don't worry, I believe a year takes roughly 12 months to happen. So by then, hopefully the ice will have melted properly and we can be on our way. We will transform the Endurance, the ship, from a normal ship into a winter station. Imagine that, being trapped. All on the ice, with only the snow and the wind and the cold for company, miles and miles from anywhere, with only 26 other men, no communication with the outside world, no radio, no television, no telephones. What are we going to do? I could think of only one thing: costume party! Oh, yes! We turned the hold of the ship into the Ritz, a special club where we had competitions and songs and poems and poetry and stories. I even once won worst singer in all of world history ever. I know, and Tom Crean was there. He can't sing a note. We did very well for the first 6 months in the ship. It just rolled by being in lockdown together. But then, in October of that year, the pack ice, which had been moving in slowly, crushing against the ship, squeezed too tightly. The ship knocked over and my hat fell off. And we sprung a leak. Now, we tried to bail it out, to pump it out, and even to plug the gap with blankets, but it didn't work. On October the 27th, we had to abandon the ship. We had to watch the ice crush it to pieces, almost as if Antarctica was taking its revenge. So we were now camped outside on the sea ice. It was very cold out there, and we began to run low on supplies. The cocoa went first, and then the tea, and we were only eating meat, seal steak, seal stew, and frostbite became a real problem. My fingers were so cold, I could barely pick up a penguin. Tom Crean said to me, "All right then, boss, what's the plan now?" "Ah, well, I'm glad you asked, Tom, because I do have one. Yes, our plan is to wait. Again, it's the same plan like it was before, but I'm convinced if we wait until April next year, then the sea ice will begin to break up and we can be free. We will use the 3 lifeboats that have survived to sail across the sea. And you'll like that, won't you, Tom? Hey, watching the ice break? You're Irish after all. You like the crack?" The crack, the crack, he said, the crack. He said, "Yes, that's very funny that there, boss. You're half Irish though, aren't you yourself? So that explains why that joke was only half funny." Yeah. So we waited, and while we were waiting in the cold, we played football. I organised massive soccer matches. To start with, 27 of us were playing at the same time, which was insane. So we set up a sort of league. And it was while we were playing that on April the 9th that the sea ice finally broke right beneath our feet. Ha, 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 cracking underneath all of the men. Now, I could have waved my hands around like this and panicked and run around shouting, but I didn't. I started to sing, which distracted the men, and then we ran for the boats. I started making jokes. Frank, what are you doing? Falling into the ice-cold water. Don't do that. You'll accidentally wash your face, and we'll see how truly hideous you really are under all that filth. Get in the boats. We did, and then we set sail for the nearest island. Now, when I say we set sail, I mean we sailed through gales and storms with waves 50 feet high. When we set sail, we set through Antarctic days that were 17 hours of darkness in them. 17 hours of dark and storms. Our navigator, Worsley, only had one chance to try and see the sun to work out where we were. But he did it. We finally landed on Elephant Island. No elephants, sadly. Otherwise, we could have ridden them home. And in fact, there wasn't anything at all there. Nothing. It was completely barren. We wouldn't survive long here. Yes, we had supplies, but we couldn't live here forever. So I decided upon another plan. 5 of us would leave in a massive, super strong lifeboat. We didn't have one of those, but I organised our carpenter, Chippy, and asked him to construct a superboat using pieces from the other 2. Then myself, Tom Crean, Worsley, and 2 other men piled onto the superboat and set sail. We were going for Georgia, South Georgia Island. I knew there was a whaling station there. I knew there would be people who could rescue us. Tom Crean said, "This South Georgia Island then, how far away is that, roughly speaking?" Roughly, not far. It's only 800 miles. Yeah, let's go. Sing me a song, Tom. We eventually did arrive at South Georgia Island on the wrong side of it. After 2 weeks of sailing, we landed on the wrong side of the island, 35 miles away from the whaling station, with only a few spades, bits of rope, odd bits of food, and some nails. Well, don't worry, I said. Keep smiling. Don't worry, because these nails, we can put them into our boots, can't we? It's what mountaineers use when they go up mountains. We can do some climbing now in these. We're mountaineers. Yeah, let's go. So, leaving 2 men behind who were too sick to travel, myself, Tom, and Worsley, the navigator, trekked across an icy, barren landscape where nobody had ever been before. No other humans had ever walked through the snow or the ice on South Georgia Island. There was no maps, and we had no clue. We made good progress on some days, but a lot of the time we just used to have to dig a hole in the snow and stay there because the storms were so bad, or the sunshine shined so brightly it reflected off of the snow into your eyes and gave you snow blindness. Eventually, we managed to reach a mountain. A mountain was quite steep going all the way up, and going down we couldn't see where the slope ended. I looked down the slope and looked at Worsley and at Crean and said, "Right, lads, we've got 2 choices here. Number 1, we can go back down the way we've come, back down the mountain and work our way around by at least a journey of an extra 5 miles to get to the whaling station, or we could try the slope." Both of them said, "Try the slope." So we wound all of our rope into coils to make a sort of makeshift toboggan, a sledge. And then, sitting one behind the other, we pushed off down the side of the mountain. It was the most terrifying sled ride I have ever been on. We had no idea going through the ice and all the snow whether we'd fall off the ends of the earth or crash into a rock. But we made it to the very end of the slope. Broken, yes. Battered, certainly. But most importantly, not dead. On May the 20th, 1916, we walked into the whaling station and civilization. I was so battered, bruised and dirty that a sailor I knew who worked there only recognized me by the sound of my voice. We were given a room to sleep in with soft feather beds, although after an hour of sleeping in it, Tom Crean said, "You know, I'm so comfortable I can't actually get to sleep." And neither could I. Only after a few days, we took rescue parties out to try and get the rest of my crew, though it took 3 months to get them, but when we did, all of them were alive. And this to me is the greatest victory of the entire expedition. Everyone was safe. We didn't make the pole, no, but we resisted with good heart. Because when difficulty arose and when it seemed that all hope was lost, we braved cheerily. We waited patiently with glad heart, and we resisted hunger and thirst with laughter and song. And that is the true spirit and moral courage worth having. So if you find yourself in the unusual situation of being trapped or locked down, then remember, don't frown, smile, make your own fun, and you'll be all right. So, thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. If you have liked this video, remember to click like and share it with people you know. You can also subscribe to the Histrionics History at Home page if you want. And if you want to research my life, you can do so online, though if you're not old enough, make sure a responsible grown-up is with you. Make sure to check out other videos here at Histrionics History at Home. I've been Ernest Shackleton. Take care out there, and stay safe.